Marty Siederer earned his bachelor's degree in journalism and urban communication. He is currently the executive director of Mac Angels Foundation. The foundation supports families living with ALS. Marty earned his degree a while ago, but he talks about how being at Rutgers helped him develop resilience. He talks about how every student experiences the RU screw. Hello, Marty. Thank you for coming for this interview. I really appreciate you taking your time and joining me for this interview. Could you please tell me your journey from Rutgers to your current position and how that happened?
It's an interesting, question. When I went to Rutgers, my goal was to become a newspaper reporter, and I
Hmm.
graduated with a degree in journalism and urban studies from what was then Livingston College. And that was eventually absorbed into the university itself. And I had many professors who were part of the School of Communication and Information. At that time, the newspaper industry was in a bit of a recession. And I also found out that my goal and interest of being a sports writer, I didn't realize you have to work nights, you have to work weekends, and you don't necessarily get to cover major league sports, at the start of things. So things segued into a position with an advertising PR firm in Somerville, New Jersey. And so I was able to take the writing skills and communication skills I learned at Rutgers, translate that into writing press releases and advertising copy. And then after that job, I left and started with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, where I was doing marketing communications. And that segued into fundraising because of meeting a baseball player who used to play for the Mets. And that started a 45-year career doing exactly that.
Wow, that's an amazing 45-year
Yeah.
career
Yeah.
from, and I understand as to like how you wanted to be a reporter and you came to like the obstacles of like not covering major like the things that you wanted to pursue, but then you treaded on and you found what you wanted to do. Wow. So could you tell me some skills that you developed at Rutgers, outside of Rutgers, that have brought value to your workplace?
I'm going to mention two things. One would be the things that you would expect in terms of getting an education. So it would be writing skills and how to work under deadline, because we had to do some of that in terms of completing homework assignments, but also having a class where you would have to write a press release or a newspaper article and turn it in by the end of class. But I'm going to get into something that you don't necessarily learn in school, and that is navigating bureaucracy and how to get the answer that you need. And something that Rutgers teaches you organically, and that's that grittiness. We all remember the RU screw when we grew up. So while it was a challenge to get to the right professor to take a course that we wanted, it also taught all of us who go to Rutgers or went to Rutgers how to not take no for an answer, but also more importantly, how to navigate to the right person who could give you an answer. And the other thing that you also learn through that is maybe you get a no, but file that contact away because you might need that person for help down the line.
Right. That's true. Following people and building that network is it's a huge skill to have and it's a huge skill to develop. I also do agree with the classic RU screw that almost every student at Rutgers goes through and developing that grittiness. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting because I think the RU screw when I was there were things like I got closed out of a class, and speaking with some of the folks who are on the Rutgers staff, it's things like the Wi-Fi doesn't work.
I get that. Yes,
Yeah,
I do understand that. I've had instances where like those have similar instances have happened where like the heating doesn't work in the middle of
yeah,
winter. Like, okay, what do we do now?
yeah.
Um, but the grittiness, and I think it develops, the students end up developing a resilience and as to like whatever life will throw. I mean, I think the best way to put it is I think Rutgers is a play, it's a training ground for the outside world. as to like you have resources in Rutgers that okay, talk to the management of the dorms if the Wi-Fi or the heating isn't working. But then like in the real world, you find out who to know, who to contact in that sense. That is actually very insightful that you shared. Uh,
Yeah, and I think it's whether I think probably people who want to go to Rutgers are not going to sit on hold for 45 minutes with their cable company or the phone company to get the answer.
yeah,
They're going to go on X or whatever platform that they can use to find that person to get their concerns addressed.
absolutely. So I wanted to ask you more about your position, not your position, but as working in fundraising and volunteering. Could you tell me more about that and how being at Rutgers helped?
Yeah, so I work in fundraising. I also, I currently work as a consultant, and
Mm.
I'm working with two clients. One is a charity that helps people with ALS, and another is in New Mexico, and it's encouraging people to volunteer, their time and their talents. So I
Right.
think what I learned from Rutgers is one, working with different groups and to get out of your shell. Two, that just because something's in your comfort zone doesn't mean you necessarily always gravitate to that. You should take some risks in life, and you might get no for an answer. But again, filing that contact away for future reference might come handy down the line. And it could be something as big as a job connection, could be helping somebody else network, or it could even be something like you want to promote something that you're doing.
Right.
And you remember that contact from 15 years ago who is now in a position to help you do that.
Yeah, this does bring me to like the next question of like the importance of networking with folks in your for just the importance of networking. Could you tell me more about that? Or in your experience, could you give me an example of how it, networking has made a difference?
Oh, sure. I can tell you one something I worked on actually earlier today. So I mentioned earlier that a baseball player by the name of Gary Carter was traded to the New York Mets, and he expressed an interest in working with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society I was working at the time because his mother passed away from leukemia.
Mm.
We developed an incredible relationship that led to an annual golf tournament. So that's how I learned to raise funds. And again, at Rutgers, you learn to be adaptable and flexible. I could have easily said, I just write press releases. It's not my job to raise money, but I went with the journey. And Gary played for the Mets for 5 years, was subsequently released. And because of the networking I had done, the Mets were still interested in working with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So fast forward 40 something years, I was actually contacting the Mets in my new role to help with an event. And because of the relationship I developed, they had said, hey, we can do some certain things because you have a track record of working with us. We know that you're going to come through.
Right. That is that's very cool. Getting to work with the Mets and getting into fundraising. That is actually very cool. I mean, I believe that raise fundraising for the Leukemia Society, well, I think you must have helped save some lives.
Yeah, it's interesting. At one point, my son, who was probably he now works for Amazon Web Services,
Hmm.
he compared his job where they're keeping the internet up,
Hmm.
to something where he said, you're helping people.
Yeah,
It's a totally different thing. And he admired more what I was doing. And I said, well, the fact that people can go to a web page and it's always going to be there for them is because of or companies like Amazon Web Services. So we're both providing services.
that's truly wonderful. The last question is, for any student that's struggling right now in Sky, what advice would you give them?
I think one, reach out to your faculty advisor. I think they're much more accessible now than they used to be because when I was at Rutgers, you had to travel to campus. Maybe the faculty advisor had office hours, but maybe an emergency came up. You knocked on their door, they weren't there.
Hmm.
You wasted a trip in essence. Nowadays, those faculty advisors are available by Zoom, by phone, through Canvas. But I think even more so, if the faculty advisor is not someone who's currently helping you, network. So for example, someone like Steve Miller is a guru for all SCI students. I mean, he just has incredible connections and a passion for helping the university. And I would also say get on LinkedIn because the Rutgers network is very strong and they will help. An alumni will help any student that's out there.
Wonderful. Get in touch with your advisors, get in touch with alums, get in touch with the Rutgers community. That's very insightful.
Yeah, and I think also look for events where alumni are coming on campus. So the Rutgers Alumni Association does an annual speed networking event where
Mm.
alumni come to campus. They get to network with students. Students can give an elevator pitch, but then after that 1 hour of elevator pitches, students can seek out an alumnus that's in their chosen field and make that connection and learn more. And some people have actually been hired on the spot by going to speed networking.
So a key event to go to is the speed networking event by the Rutgers Alumni Association. So that
I
would be
think that, and actually, being that we're talking about Sky, Comcella is coming up in April. I would
absolutely.
strongly encourage any Sky majors or students in Sky courses to come to Comcella. It's a terrific event.
Absolutely. Sky Comcella is actually a lot of fun too. And that's a huge network.
Yep, and looking forward to the April 2024 event myself.
Awesome. I'd love to see you there.
Yeah,
So that concludes the interview. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, giving us insights and, the world that there is for you. Thank you.
my pleasure. Always glad to help Rutgers.
Thank you.
Thanks.